Welcome everyone. As I have said that I will be coming up with part 2 of the utilitarian tradition. So here I am with John Stuart Mill as a utilitarian philosopher. In part 2, we'll be discussing his ideas and his philosophy of utilitarian thought. So J.S.Mill is regarded as one of the greatest champion of individualism and liberty. His greatest contribution to Benthamite school of thought was the changed concept of liberty to suit to his times, and in his approach to problem, he is close to Socrates. He felt liberty was the most valuable to society. As we have seen in part 1 of the utilitarian philosophy, that what are the principles of legislation suggested by Bentham. Here we will see how Mill projected his view on legislature. So Bentham pleaded for more powers to parliament, which in practice produced dangerous effects. So Doyle has compared Mill and Bentham when he says liberty of action and thought, the corollary of egoism and a necessity for development into self-conscious was at stake. So Mill gradually began to think that the society and the legislature, these were the organs which tried to impose their opinion on individuals, and hence they require checking. Mill on liberty. This is the most important and significant contribution of Mill to utilitarian tradition or political philosophy. So as of now, I have been discussing the circumstances like he demanded a check to protect individuals. So under these circumstances, Mill came out as a champion of individual liberty, as you can see, and to save individual from tyranny of both legislature and so-called public opinion that I have been talking of. He basically differed from Bentham and J.S.Mill, as both believe liberty is essential for utility and thus simply means to an end and not an end in itself. Mill believed that liberty is essential for moral development of mankind and thus an end in itself. You can see the difference between Benthamite school of thought, between Bentham, James Mill, and the John Stuart Mill. So they are believing that utility is simply a means to an end and not an end in itself. But Mill is believing that for moral development of mankind, liberty is essential and hence it is an end in itself. As you can see, he himself has quoted, I have undertaken all these because these are the questions which are most of the time it is asked that who has said this or who the statement is this. So I have kept number of arguments and statements in this lecture so that you can refer them and can correlate it with your exam. It would be very helpful. So here you can see that principle is that the sole end for which mankind are warranted, individually or collectively in interfering with the liberty of action of any of their number is self-protection. He cannot rightfully be compelled to do or forbear because it will be better for him to do so, because it will make him happier, because in the opinions of others to do so be wise or even right. These are the good reasons for remonstrating with him or reasoning with him or persuading him or entreating him, but not for compelling him or visiting him with any evil, in case he do otherwise. And to justify that, the conduct from which it is desired to deter him must be calculated to produce evil to someone else. The only part of the conduct of anyone for which he is amenable to society is that which concerns others. In the part which merely concerns himself is his independence of right, absolute over himself, over his own body and mind. The individual is sovereign. I'll explain it in the lecture as I go further in my lecture. I'll explain this. So, what does that actually mean? That entire para. If I put it in simple terms, Mill was of the opinion that in so far as individual actions concerning his own self were concerned, and which did not prejudice his actions about others, to that extent he was free, and there were no limitations on him. But when his actions influence others, he was bound by certain limitations. In his own words, the liberty of the individual must be thus far limited. He must not make himself a nuisance to others. He put restrictions on enjoyment of liberty. Only those who were mature could enjoy it. He, however, had no care for social customs and conventions, nor he had anything to say about age-old institutions. He believed that in the interest of the individual liberty, it was essential that the state should deny liberty and freedom in cases where it felt that individual was not acting in his self-interest. For example, even today you can see suicide attempt is a punishable offense. So, Mill on expression. Mill was of the opinion that democracy, public opinion, and collectivism were dangerous to individual liberty. Therefore, it should be kept in indifferent spheres of activity. It was bad on part of society to impose its opinion on individual. He himself has said the tendency of society to impose by other means than civil penalties its own ideas and practices as rules of conduct on those who dissent from them to fetter the development and, if possible, prevent the formation of any individuality not in harmony with its ways and to compel all characters to fashion themselves upon the model of its own. There is a limit to the legitimate interference of collective opinion with individual independence, and to find that limit and to maintain it against encroachment is as indispensable to a good condition of human affairs as protection against political despotism. So he strongly rejects suppression of opinion of others. Not even a single decent opinion should be suppressed, as it was disgracing to human existence. Such a denial could possibly result in exchanging error for truth. It is therefore essential that everyone should be given essential basic liberties for expression of self. He stressed that need and necessity for variety of opinions. He believed liberty and self-government should go hand in hand. Mill laid its stress on individual liberty, which is the very basis for development of human personality, and without which one could neither develop nor progress and becomes stagnant. Mill did not discuss social evildoer who had scant regard for democratic institutions and the method by which they should be treated. He was of the view that individuals should be left alone insofar for actions regarding self are concerned. So, as you can see, he divided action into two parts: actions that are self regarding and actions that are other regarding. As far as other regarding actions are concerned, community as a whole, the state had right to interfere in it. And he argues due recognition should be given to impulse while judging actions of people. Mill on representative government. He favored idea of representative government. He was full aware of the dangers of democracy and the way in which it could become tyranny. So he put forwarded the idea of proportional representation system to be adopted for electing representatives, and those who are the only and who had capacity to vote and possessed a degree of intelligence should be given right to vote. He even pleaded plurality of vote, extra votes to be given to those possess exceptional qualification. That is what he meant by plurality of votes. As against secret ballot, he favored open ballot system. The people should have right to remove their elected representatives, and it is the responsibility of the elected representatives to educate the masses about the laws enacted. He favored women's right to vote and pleaded that once women were given social and political freedom, the external differences between men and women would disappear. This is what J.S.Mill has conceptualized under utilitarian philosophy. Let us now take multiple choice questions. So, the first question is Mill favors A. Quantitative pleasure, B. Qualitative pleasure, C. Both, and D. None. Correct answer would be here B. Qualitative pleasure. Mill stood for qualitative pleasures, and by giving qualitative conception, he has raised the idea of utilitarianism, and there he has been being different from Benthamite school of thought also. Question 2. Mill believes in A. Nationalization, B. Collectivism, C. Socialism, and D. None. So, the correct answer here is socialism. Mill believes in the idea of socialization of means of production, as he says that nationalization was only one way of the means of bringing socialism. Thus, it was not an end in itself, but only means to an end. Question 3. Plurality of votes finds place in whose thought? A. James Mill, B. John Stuart Mill, C. Bentham, D. None. The correct answer here is John Stuart Mill. Mill pleaded for the idea of plurality of votes to higher educated citizens. He even went to the extent of dividing the community according to classes and functions, stating extent of plurality of votes. Question 4. According to Mill, what are dangers for liberty? A. Democracy, B. Public opinion, C. Collectivism, D. All. Correct answer here is all. According to him, all are dangers to individual liberty and must be kept separately in their sphere of activity. Question 5 and last for today's MCQ in part 2 of utilitarian tradition. Here I go. Who said Mill's fear of oppressive and intolerant public opinion was in part a realization that the individualism of early liberal theory was inadequate? A. Barker, B. Burke, C. Maxey, and D. Sabine. So, correct answer here is Sabine, as he has mentioned this statement in context of Mill. If you go through the lecture thoroughly, you will find all the explanations. Though I have given in MCQ also, you can also find in the whole lecture. You will be more clearer. Thank you.